is your active and your attractive host for Paid to Cost Podcast. Loyalty above betrayal, your boy Teflon. Evidential paperwork, they say your boy Big Meech snitched. He did a third-party cooperation. We're going to learn about what it is to be was a safety valve, 5K1. And what is it? Is a Rule 35. We're going to hear information. We're going to hear conversation from Cuffy. He's been knowing Meech for over 30 years. They've been best friends. Well, I can't say best friends, but they've been, really, really good acquainted. Actually, coming from, I believe they moved their families to Atlanta together, if I'm not mistaken. But you're going to hear Cuffy tell you that he knows for a fact that Meech set him up through Tammy Collins. There's a such thing as third party cooperation, and the third party cooperation, you won't ever hear the person that the third party cooperation is supposed to affect. You won't see their name in the paperwork. As you can also hear, Cuffy would tell you that that in paperwork that one of the things that Meech assisted on happening is his name don't be in no paperwork, and they told him that they can't for surely say that your name won't be in no paperwork, but if you sign a proper deal, that means you have dealt, you're going to cooperate with the government, and you will see that in paperwork, Demetrius Splendery, he signed a proper deal to the point where he dealt with the government. So we're gonna check it out and hear this evidential paperwork and see what the paperwork entails.
Hey, what's up?
What's the deal? It's Cuff.
How you doing?
Got it. What's the deal?
Okay, so everybody wants to know the difference between the two, or actually three, what I had asked you to describe. Can you break that down for them, please?
Okay, run the question by me again real quick. We only have 15 minutes, so
right.
Run it by me.
Okay, so it's three of them: safety valve, 5K1, and Rule 35.
Okay, the 5K1 is cooperation. Of course, Rule 35 is also cooperation. The reason why there's a difference because 5K1, that's when a person starts working or cooperating at the beginning of the case. From the moment they get in the police car, I got something to tell you. So Rule 35 is the applications that's filed after guys sit up in the joint and or just don't cooperate in the beginning of the case. And a lot of times Rule 35s are always applied after your sentence. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you have a lot of niggas that go through trial, losing trial, now they want to talk because they thought they was going to win in trial. So then the government has to present the court for what's called a Rule 35. And that's where your third-party cooperation come in. Safety valve. Congress created a safety valve particularly for people who were caught up in the middle of big conspiracy that played minor roles or no role.
Okay.
So there's two safety valves. You have a safety valve where you go in and tell it all, or you have a safety valve where you were just caught up in someone else's mess.
Okay.
So those are the distinctions.
Okay. And so far, what are you feeling about how your situation is going and what you were pulled into as far as, like Meech getting out right now? Mm-hmm. And he could have done a lot of things that could have prevented you from not even being involved in this case.
Meech could have showed up and killed the government's whole case. But Meech couldn't do that. The reason reason why Meech couldn't do that because there's a such thing as a 5-year penalty for lying to a federal agent. So at some point, Meech and Tammy Collins were debriefed. And when you're debriefed, you're talking to a federal agent. And the reason why they have that penalty involved, just so you can't walk back your statements or walk back your cooperation once you started cooperating. You understand?
Yeah.
So allegedly, Meech sent me a truckload of cocaine from jail through another party. So at some point, Meech was aware that there's a possibility that I can go to trial. And so Meech only concern, and if you read the report and recommendation, that Flannery's only concern was that his name does not show up in the paperwork. Well, of course, the government couldn't ensure that. The only way they can ensure that happen is that Cuff don't go to trial. And so the government assured him that with Cuff's lengthy record, he won't go to trial.
What?
Of course.
Oh my God. Out of all.
So to show you how things work, Tammy Collins was caught fucking a federal agent, the lead agent, Special Agent Keith Cromer. So if you read the paperwork, you'll see that name also.
I read that, yeah.
And he was a black agent who started fucking Tammy. You feel me?
Yeah.
So another big coincidence, or I know it's not a coincidence, was Tammy's lead agent was the agent that brought the BMF indictment, Special Agent Jack Harvey.
Okay.
So what a coincidence, right?
Right.
The agent that put Meech away also was Tammy's handler at the DEA. You feel me?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every single.
A lot of people don't know these facts. You know what I mean?
Every single thing about the situation doesn't even make sense of how they could even have you in jail this long.
No. It really does not. But it just shows you how nasty this system is. And to keep these records sealed for so long, the public need to be filing what's called the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
My case is older than 10 years, so the threat is gone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So why are my documents still sealed? So eventually, hopefully, we can get these documents unsealed. If enough people file the Freedom of Information Act to have the documents unsealed, so you'll really see this Coward's role. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So you really see Meech's role.
I have another question. Is there any information that Meech had access to that because you guys were friends, and so any involvement that you've had with him, right? If the feds know about something, that Meech would have had, he would have had to be the one to tell them. So is there any information in the documents that that he was, able to have access to?
Listen. No one knew about the amount of drugs coming and what the Demetrius Flannery was to get off each kilo, but me, Demetrius Flannery, and Fidel Suarez. No one else knew these things, and these things are in the documents. They're in what's called the affidavit in support of a wiretap. So this goes before a magistrate under the penalty of perjury. So in order for the agent to take this to a magistrate, he's under the penalty of perjury. You feel me?
Wow.
So if you think these white boys gonna risk their career, risk going to jail, you know what I mean?
No.
To get a wiretap, to bring about an indictment, you got to be crazy. Right. So at some point, Meech was debriefed. In order for that agent to have confidence in taking this warrant to a magistrate to get a wiretap. So in that affidavit in support.
This call is from a federal prison.
You have how much drugs is in this truckload of cocaine. You got how much Flannery was to receive off each kilo of cocaine. Who else knew these things? How did anybody else know these details?
Meech.
There you go.
He had to tell him that.
There you go. He had to sit down and be debriefed.
So
everything that happens in the dark comes to the light. 50's been protecting him because I understand 50's protecting his bag.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But at some point, 50 was going to have to come to the other side because now you're talking about fucking with 50 for 50 money. One thing we know about 50, he care about that bag.
He does.
Understand?
And they can't, and I know that they came to 50 as though they was all real. They was loyal.
Ain't no doubt.
Ain't no
doubt. And let me say this very clearly to 50's credit. We just now got the paperwork into his hands. And one of the homies put it personally in 50's hands. You You feel me?
Yep.
And so we've been trying to get at him and get this paperwork to him for the longest. So to 50's credit, he's just now gotten the paperwork. And you see he's coming out now.
Oh, he's swinging. Cuff. Last night, we were laughing because we went to a comedy show, right? So all of a sudden, when you had hit me and was like, he had put something up on his page, right? What I saw, we were sitting there, my friends was in the car. Cuff, I had to explain to them like 10 times, y'all's not going to that concert. Y'all not going to that concert. And they're like, you getting in the middle of, I said, no. And I just had to tell them, Cuff, it hurt me. And I don't got nothing to do with this, right? It hurt me because I had to let them know, check this out. When I got locked up and I came home and you hoes was false flagging with the bitch that put me in, I said, and let me, this don't not, exact, I said, if y'all switch sides on me, you go take pictures with the motherfucking op. This is how it was broke down. He put Goodfellas up. He put the movie Goodfellas up. I couldn't even, they was like, we don't get it. I said, yo, when the nigga went to jail in Goodfellas when he was a shorty, he didn't tell. They was praising him. He got out. They was all on him. They praised him. I said, at the end of the movie, y'all ain't paying attention. This get me hyped again.
He was waiting to happen. You feel me?
I said, when the nigga went to jail at the end of the movie, y'all didn't see he went to jail. He told. I said, you didn't get that? And then 50 Cent said it without saying. I said, y'all don't follow the mafia and the gangster movies enough. I said, the nigga just told you that he told you what to watch on Roku, never tell on your friends.
That's right.
Well, everybody else got it, baby. I'm sorry your girlfriends didn't get it, but everybody else got it. And it's gonna be more to come. Because what we asked him to do when we put the paperwork in his hands, my man asked him, man, would you just read out, you just put out what we giving you.
Yeah. Just the facts is on the floor. It's on the floor. What's up? Why you ain't looking at it? You stepping over it.
You feel me? And one thing about me, sis, niggas know I ain't playing no games about nothing. I don't do no faking. I don't do no capping. You know what I mean?
Right.
I ain't no spiteful nigga. What we do in our city, we celebrate the real, man. You feel me?
Definitely.
And only so many people gonna get this and respect this.
This call is from a federal prison.
Well, let me tell you, he already told the world, look, if the ratings ain't good, it will be the end of BMF, but it's gonna be the end of BMF anyway. You can't never in your life.
He's gonna have to separate himself from government informants, man, if he wants to continue. If you look at what 50's success comes from, it comes from him being a street nigga who made it legally.
Yeah.
And so his street credibility, you have to have that in order to be a rap. Why you think all the rappers are flocking to him?
Right.
So if you look at the rappers, because they need street credibility. Most of these niggas are rapping about other niggas. They ain't did nothing themselves.
Exactly.
Most of them are capping. So why you think you always see rap niggas posing with pictures of real street niggas? You feel me?
Exactly.
So that's about niggas trying to sell albums and have some street credibility.
Yeah. That's why
if you look at who do the concert for him, the nigga Rick Ross.
That's done.
This nigga was a correctional officer.
Yeah, that's done.
You feel me? So I'm just being factual.
Yeah. And look, it ain't even.
You have to link yourself to real street dudes so you can still continue to put out good music.
Exactly.
He has good music. But I know the difference between an entertainer and a nigga from the streets. You understand? That's the difference.
For real.
My homeboy from the D was like, he argued with me yesterday. He kept arguing with me like, you don't understand or know what's going on. I said, check this out. I said, you'll see it for yourself and you'll hear it for yourself when we put the podcast out. I said, I don't gotta, make you believe me, none of that. I said, and I told him.
It's real simple. The Meech Flannery called me, Big Meech or whatever you all want to call him. He called me in 2013 and told me, yo, bro, I got some good people. Holler at Tammy, she gonna fill you in. Let's get it. That's our code word. Tammy put the play together and put me with a federal agent. So 4 years later, when we got the documents and Tammy testified, Special Agent Keith Cromer testified that Demetrius Flannery was aware of the deal for him to get a time cut. Demetrius Flannery only had one worry and one demand, that his name was not in any documents. The government informed Flannery that they could not guarantee that. The only way that they can guarantee his name won't be in any document is if Cuff don't go to trial.
Right.
Shit is simple, man.
Damn.
I go all the way back to 1991 with this nigga.
Damn.
1991 with this nigga. This nigga didn't have nothing when I met him.
That's right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I feel what 50 feeling about this nigga being ungrateful. You feel me? So that's what 50 is all about. This nigga's ungrateful.
Yeah. And
I put $1 million in this nigga pocket. This nigga didn't have nothing when I met him.
right.
So this nigga's ungrateful.
Very
You feel me?
ungrateful.
There you have it. You know what I mean? In Cuffy words itself. You know what I mean? They say men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. But in this case, I'm gonna sit there and tell you, numbers do lie, because you couldn't tell me that after running a criminal enterprise that in Michigan, because I'm from East St. Louis, I'm from the boogie, right next door to St. Louis, Missouri. But I'm gonna tell you, but I stay in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. I can tell you that running a criminal enterprise is punishable by life. Without the possibility of parole. If I'm not mistaken, look that up and do your research. But I really believe that's the truth. That's true. And if that's what he was charged with, time, I don't wish no time on no one, but time should have said that, in Michigan, that, he would be punishable for life without the, possibility of parole, because he's a habitual criminal as far as that, because evidently that ain't his first case. And to be the leader of a criminal organization, that's for profit, that also put him in a situation where, he's eligible to be in the penitentiary for life, but here we go. I want to say he done like 24, 22 years. I say that because I had a homeboy, my homeboy Sambino, I miss that nigga. They was gonna label him a career criminal. He's in the penitentiary now, for murder, they gave him life without the possibility of parole. And they was gonna label him as a career criminal if the guys that testified on him testimony then fit the jury's criteria of convicting him. But they had another guy that was going to testify toward the dope portion of that, and they was going to label him as a career criminal and give him life without the possibility of parole, because they really once the feds want you, they really they do everything to try to get you. They pull everybody against you, and and a lot of people that you never know that's been working with the feds have been just working with the feds. So I say that to say that paperwork don't lie. We all glorify Demetrius Flannery, for a minute, because you really don't know the truth about people. When people tell you something about someone, don't I'm not telling you to believe it. Just put it in your repertoire of thinking, and then research it, because you could be doing yourself a big favor by protecting yourself around this person, which that they may be dangerous. One thing I can tell you, a snake You know what I mean? It's not gonna change. You know, a snake sheds its skin just to be a bigger snake. You know, a lot of times I tell people this. You know, people got this thing where they say, "Well, man, I ain't worried about him. He ain't gonna snitch on me. That's what you know what I mean. Woo, woo, woo. That's my homeboy. That's your homeboy. Okay, cool. You know, he ain't gonna tell on you. But I'm gonna tell you who's dangerous. That not at that point in time, that person that you say is my homeboy, he won't snitch on me. He's not dangerous no more. You're dangerous because you're keeping him around. Because what he see, he gonna go back and tell. You better believe that. So people that hang around these snitches and think these snitches is doing them a big justice by saying, man, you know, I ain't tell, you know what I mean? And you believe in this shit, man. These motherfuckers, man, they the government, you know what I mean, you know, they run a cold game, man. You know what I mean? You know, they put that they dangle that money in front of motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? You know, and the weak motherfucker will fall for that. You know, and as we see in Kalamazoo, you know what I mean, you know, in Michigan and Big Meech, you know what I'm saying? You know, I used to respect Big Meech until I started seeing this paperwork and I started really understanding what this paperwork was. You know, anytime you put your name inside, you know, an affidavit, you know, saying that you signed a proper agreement, that means you made a deal with the government. You made a promise to the government that you'll work with them. And however you was working with them, you know what I mean, you know, you was working with them. You know, he gonna sit there and talk that shit about, you know what I mean, he didn't know what this girl Tammy Collins was doing, you know what I mean, with his name. But at the same time, what's crazy about that is, I mean, you know, you got a son out here, you know what I mean? I don't know if your mother was still living, you know what I mean, but you know, but you could have put that shit in your son's name. You know, why go and deal with someone that you finds out that's a known snitch that actually Blue Da Vinci initially was fucking with in 2003. So in 2003, you should already knew by 2008 or 2009 that she was, you know, she was working with the people. But then by 2014 or 2016, you know what I mean, you in jail. And how the hell is she supposed to, how the hell do Cuffy gets introduced to her? Well, actually, he knew her. Introduced to this Suarez guy. You hooked that up, Meech. You hooked that up. You had to hook that up. Remember, she, you know what I mean, she was dealing with, you know, everything, you know, that had anything to do with you. Everybody had to communicate through her. So, you know what I mean, that had to come into play right there also. You know what I mean? You know, to the point where, you know what I mean, she had to hook Suarez and Gatlin up. She had to hook both of them up, and she moved out the way. See, but then at the same time, what happened was when he brought that truckload of work up there, you know what I mean? You know, he had a different number, and once he had a different number, you called him and told him, you know what I mean, that boy up there with the work. And so therefore now from that point on, that's when you supposedly had, you know, you was talking, you know what I mean, you was right there with the DA guy. And you know what I mean, you supposedly had your phone on, you know, come on now. Let's be for real. You know, you knew what you was doing. Shout out to Sean G from Podcast of Soul, you know, for the paperwork. Yo, my boy, I second that motion, you know what I mean? You know, being you know, someone from East St. Louis, Illinois, you know, we stand on loyalty. And we move in one way. That's the real way, you know what I'm saying? We don't tell, we don't snitch, we don't third party cooperate. We don't do none of that. You know what I mean? You know, I told you I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois. You know what I mean? They call East St. Louis, Illinois the city of champions. That's why, you know what I'm saying, you know, it's a different breed when you not from that area. You know what I mean? So we don't tell. We believe in loyalty. You know what I mean? So shout out to Podcast of Soul. You know what I mean? Sean G for the paperwork, man. I appreciate you, man. No doubt. Push that like and that subscribe button for more content. Paid the Cost Podcast. Information that'll make you shake your head. Paperwork that came out on my boy Big Meech. It's true. Snitches get stitches. Sometimes dumped in ditches. As you can see, the concert have been, canceled. But that's another story. But we're gonna get into this paperwork information with my man Podcast of Soul. Shout out to Podcast of Soul for the paperwork, Sean G.
I did get down. I did 16 months. I was sentenced to 18 months on a white collar beef. I did 15 months, 15 days, and 19 hours at FCI Morgantown in Morgantown, West Virginia. And I met Black. I got there in October 2014. I met Black like around December. He's from East St. Louis. He's from the Boogie. He got there like December, and me and him was tight for the remaining 13 months I was there. And that's my man still to this day. So I see a lot of y'all in the comment section, and that's fine. You can say what I'm saying is cap. I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine. I don't care nothing about that. But one thing I do know is that paperwork doesn't lie.
That's right.
And I'm not a big meech. I'm not cuffed. I may have 10 counts. I'm not a care about any of them. I only got involved in this particular content because my nigga Black is from the Boogie, East St. Louis, which is next door to St. Louis.
That's right.
Telling me
right.
I've been home. I got released January 2016. So I've been out of prison for 9 years now. But he told me this story once before. But when it started popping up in the in my YouTube feed, in the algorithm, and I didn't know about the dude Cuffy. I didn't know about the dude. But when they said it, I knew that if I called my nigga Black, I knew he was gonna know something about it. And sure enough, I called him, and he did, and he told me the whole story. And a lot of what he said, and a lot of what I said in the first video, is a neat video. I'm also gonna put it. It's the United States District Court, Eastern District of Missouri, Eastern Division. Right? So Cuffy was serious about this case because he requested a Franks hearing, right? He requested a Franks hearing when it was all going down. He was fighting for his life, right? And from what my nigga Black told me, it doesn't. He was looking at the death penalty, right? Because there was some murders of some government witnesses, right? So he guess he felt like let me go all the way. So he applies for a Franks hearing and he gets it. And let me explain to you, the officer's affidavit for a search warrant contains false or misleading information. The hearing is named after the 1978 Supreme Court case, Franks versus Delaware, right? A defendant, when is a Franks hearing held? When a defendant may request a Franks hearing if they believe the officer intentionally or recklessly included false information in the affidavit. Okay. You look your own. The defendant must show that the false information was necessary to establish probable cause. The defendant may also request a Franks hearing if the search resulted in discovery of incriminating evidence, right? What happens at a Franks hearing? The defendant challenges the affidavit. So what it was, in the initial affidavit that E. Cowens, who is a government informant and who is in this document, which is the motion in this paperwork as CS1, confidential source 1, right? Now, this document, the defense filed this motion, Cuffey filed after he had the frame. And the court granted him the Franks hearing. They could have denied Franks hearing, right, if they didn't believe, it was sufficient, right? But they gave him a Franks hearing. The Franks hearing, right, he filed the motion to have the electronic surveillance evidence suppressed. The motion to suppress there were lies and misstatements in the affidavit, the initial affidavit filed and signed by Tammy Cowens, who was a government informant, right? And it's all here.
Right.
What happened? How would it?
Too many times we don't believe, the statements that people say about people because maybe financial situations that they, may be putting you in, or, just because money, money makes people act funny. And I tell people like this is my major rule right here. Friends are like 4 quarters. It changed for $1. And that right there is a classic case of that. What Big Meech did to, Cuffey. So we're gonna sit here and listen to Podcast of Soul. Our boy Sean G is gonna tell you how it goes down. Let's get it. Paid to Cost Podcast. Push that like and share button for more content.
What happened? How it all went down? Its motion to suppress. The key date is August the 5th, 2012, right? This is the date where Tammy Cowens, who is CS1, is trying to connect a Mexican dude from California named Fidel Suarez and Dion Gatlin, who is Cuffey, that's his government name, to do a drug deal, right? Now, they've tapped Cuffey in the initial affidavit. Just get the paperwork and read it. I'm just a YouTuber, kid. Initial affidavit, Tammy in the affidavit, this that Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech, put her, Tammy Cowens, CS1, in contact with Fidel Suarez and instructed her to contact Dion Gatlin, Cuffey, to do a drug deal. That's in the sworn affidavits signed by Tammy Cowens. So, in this, document says she had been a government informant for years. And when in here it says she first met Big Meech, I think 2009, of which she had already an informant. And she befriended him, and here you can read it. And she 30 years in the federal system, of which you have to do 85% of that time. 10% would be 30 months, another 45 months. So you knock off, you're probably looking at about 26, 25 and a half, 26, whatever that number is, right? So he's already sentenced. It also talks.
Shout out to Podcast of Soul for the content.
Probably about $1 million. But anyway, she begins to facilitate this drug deal between Fidel Suarez from California and Dion Gatwin, known as Cuffy from St. Louis. Now, her handler in Atlanta is a dude named Keith. What's my man's name? Keith Comers. What's my man? Keith Cromer. Keith Cromer is the special agent in charge that's handling her, right? He tells her what to do. He's the DEA Atlanta Group Supervisor, Keith Cromer. Now, at the time of this motion, he's being investigated by the Office of Professional Responsibility and the Office of General for his inappropriate relationship with Tammy Cowens, improper to justify improper payments to this girl. Now, they begin what starts a personal relationship as per evolving sexual, right, on escapade. And it's proof because Tammy has pictures of them together in her phone, right? And he instigated for same, right? So this is one of the reasons why Cully and his attorney feel like all of the information in that affidavit, right, should be thrown out because of the improper relationship between the special agent Keith Cromer and the informant, right? Keith Cromer, you know what I'm saying, got lost once he started sex with this woman, seeing her, and it talked on a monthly basis, and sometimes there was information from another CS2, actual evidence, information that was good for the case, but he wouldn't pay CS2. He would give it to her. This he was doing, right? You know, a woman. Now, after David, right? How Big Meech and Suarez was in 2005. And, you know, that's how they befriended each other. Now, as this hearing is going,
everybody be asking me, man, does the Bluetooth actually work?
But from 2009 until 2011, you were never paid by the DEA. Is that correct? No, I wasn't. Did Mr. Harvey mention anything about an award related to Mr. White's case? He did right before he retired. He said, I'll put you in for a little reward. Did he give you an amount? No. So Harvey retires. I think Jack Harvey retires in 2011. By this time, Terry White is convicted, busted, and sent to prison for 8 years on a weed conspiracy and money laundering, I think. Now, Cuffy's attorney is getting at her about her finances. Her husband, Tammy Cowan's husband, gets killed in a car accident by an uninsured motorist. She gets 200 grand from the insurance company for the uninsured, and then she carried 100 grand life insurance on him on her own, and the other 20 to 25 grand from her job to bury him. And at this time, she had about 100 grand in credit card debt. So she says. Cuffy's attorney is bringing all this up. His attorney saw this. She says, yeah, it's a bankruptcy. She files Chapter 7. Tammy Cowan's filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy to wipe away all of the credit card debt. And then all of the cheese that she got from the insurance for the uninsured motorist and the life insurance, she buys a townhouse with it. She says that. Credibility is shot, right? And we know in one instance, she says that in the affidavit, the initial affidavit that she signed, the sworn affidavit that she signed, that under penalties of perjury, imprisonment, she signed that Big Meech put her in touch with Suarez to do the deal, right? And we also know from other paperwork that the first day Jack Harvey retires, and let me read it to you. When Mr. Harvey retired, this is Cuffy's attorney. When Mr. Harvey retired, you didn't automatically start working like the next day with Mr. Cromer, did you? She said, Cuffy's attorney is money, set her up. You didn't start working immediately like the next day with Mr. Cromer, did you, ma'am? And Tammy Cowan says, Mr. Cromer reached out to me, as a matter of fact, the same day or the next day. I think there's an email to confirm that. And remember from the paperwork the day before, she said that when she spoke to Keith Cromer the first time,
right,
she asked him, like, yo, what am I going to be doing? He said, yo, you going to be making phone calls. We just going to deal you strictly with Hispanics. So when you get them busted, they going to get deported. So you don't never have to worry about seeing them again. You're going to be fine. You're going to be safe. She like, all right, bet. And then she says, And he says, you gonna be making phone calls, picking up money, picking up drugs. She's like, I bet. And she says, if I bring you something big, Keith Chroma cuts her off mid-sentence, you gonna make a lot of money. And then she says immediately thereafter, can I get Demetrius Flannery a time cut?
There you go, right
We
there.
know that
Right there.
in the documents, in the Frank's hearing. This is before she changes her testimony, right? She doesn't change her testimony until the DEA in St. Louis starts posting, making public available, making information public, and they see her name and she starts telling her, we're gonna kill you, right? And we're gonna do something to Meech. This is when she changes her story, right? And it comes up later in the cross-examination by Ms. Traub, Cuffy's attorney. We already looked at it. She went to go visit Meech in Louisiana. She couldn't get to him, but when she talked to him, he told her, I don't want my name caught up in this mess, right? And this is what y'all be saying, right? I'm born 1969. I'm 55 years old, Sean G. I done dealt with a lot of women in my life. I done dealt with a lot of honeys in my life. Y'all be saying that this girl, Tammy Carols, was doing this all on her own. Unbeknownst to Meech, she is using his name. She dropping his name in sworn affidavits.
What happened that way?
Now, Tammy Cowens never performs. Y'all got to listen to what I'm saying, right? She never busts one Hispanic. She never, and she says he would pick up money from this Hispanic or pick up drugs from this Hispanic. It would always fall apart at the last minute, and it never happened. So what they told her she was going to be doing never happened.
Right.
But yet they still using her. Why?
Because she got to be the front man for Meech.
Right? And for who? Right? If her cooperation, if her being an informant is straight up and down like 6 o'clock, right? Why not really put her on some cases, on some real expense, or put her on other cases not involving Big Meech? Why?
Right.
There's one single video.
You can simply stay connected whether you're working, traveling, or simply on the go. But why should your internet be over?
Revoking Gibbs's bond tells the judge that Cuffy put an Instagram post up threatening Tammy Cowens, which was a violation of his protective order.
Right.
But being that he's already in custody, the U.S. attorney requested that he have no more, they take away his phone privileges indefinitely, except to be able to call his legal counsel, his attorney. And the judge does that for as long as the Frank's hearing is going on. So this is a pretty serious case, man. Um, you know, but you know, y'all heard everything. I'm not going to reiterate what I said. Um, I see y'all tomorrow. I have the other part tomorrow. Sean G.
Here's the document where they say the meech plenary has signed the 5K1. And like I said, a 5K1 is where you make a proper deal. And when you make a proper deal, that means you agree to work with the federal government. So, as we can see right here, in paperwork, he signed a proper deal. And he agreed to work with the government, and so paperwork don't lie, so a lot of people better start taking the blinders off their eyes and standing up for the truth. This guy's a rat. He did things for gain and to get him less time. He put his homies up under the bus. Because you got to remember this thing with Suarez. You know, um, he met Suarez through Tammy Collins, and Tammy Collins is is quote unquote, got to be the best friend or somebody of Demetrius Flannery, because he gave her, control of all his name, and what is that? Power of attorney, and he never gave a power of attorney to the woman that he paroled home to, or either to his son. So what's that telling you? It's to me, that's telling me he knew what was going on in this, in this proffer when he signed it. So he knew that the things that she was doing and how she was doing it. So you can't be trying to go out there and being a government informant and trying to get someone free and they don't have no idea about it. You know what I mean? But that was just a way to to save face, to make him not being the snitch. And as far as what people were sitting there saying that, through that Son of Sam law, it's where you can't, no one can make profit off of your likeness or anything. But that's only when someone has been murdered. And in this case, no one have been murdered or anything. So Meech could have still made profits off of his image and his likeness, and in BMF. But what he did, he had to put it out now. I mean, then while he was there, because if you waited, information would have came out that he's a snitch. So they had to make that move right then. Just think about it. So don't be no fool, and don't keep putting the blinders on your on your eyes and not realizing what these people are doing out here. They're throwing rocks and hiding their hands. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna go say it again. Friends are like 4 quarters. They change for the dollar. You know what I mean? So hit that like and that subscribe button. Paid to Cost Podcast for more content. Your boy Teflon, loyalty above the trail. Let's get it.